Okay, here I am testing for Varroa. Um, some of these boxes just weren't very productive this year, some of these hives, so I went ahead and pulled off what honey I could and converted them to a double deep, and then I gave them 2 weeks. And not all of the hives have really stepped up. And I said, it's early in the year. It's May. I inherited these hives this winter, so I really didn't know anything about them. And stupidly, I didn't test them for Varroa, so I didn't know what was going on. I just tested a swarm that came in, a late swarm, and it had 3 per 300, and I just tested one of mine that I inherited. I mean, it had been treated over winter. As far as I know, I saw some some strips in there. They're not really plastic strips; they're just tongue depressors. So I didn't really know what they were. I assume they were Amatraz. Anyway, the mite count was 45 per 300. So, question is, do I treat or do I cull? I guess I'll have to treat. I'm really just at a loss. It's really shocking to have that kind of mite bomb. This is one of my productive hives, and it's been, like I said, it's been really productive. So I went ahead and resupered them after I harvested, and we'll see how they look. Very yellow bees. Okay, so let's take a look. They're really not up here working. We don't have a lot of nectar going on right now. Things here are very weird. I have not figured them out yet. There are resources out there, but I'm having still somewhat of a hard time kind of getting the full story. Whatever happens. Okay, there's 0 honey in here, and there was some nectar, so that means that they had enough of a dearth that they pulled. Yeah, they pulled what they had out here. This is coming off, going into the freezer, or the cooler rather. Frank Sinatra said, "That's life." Okay. For all I know, this hive has swarmed. I don't know. We haven't had any reports of swarms. We haven't seen any swarms that were not ours. But that being said, we also, ran singles, and I decided to go ahead and after we did the honey harvest, because it was all deeps, so the super and the brood box, and I went ahead and put the wet supers back on and turned it into double brood chambers. That might be a mistake, might be a genius move. I really just don't know yet. These, from what I've read, wow, and this looks nice. A lot of drones, big fat bees, little bees. I'm super tempted. A lot of drones, actually. I'm really tempted to try to do a walkaway on any of these colonies that have a low count, especially this one or the next one. A lot of drones. I don't see the queen, but I also don't see eggs. She's probably so used to being downstairs that she just never quite makes it upstairs. I may be anthropomorphizing. I don't know. All right. Good honey band. No eggs. A lot of drones. Oh, capped honey. A lot of drones. I see pollen coming in. I see drones. I think it might be wise of me to try to do a split, because something tells me I'm going to have some losses. Okay, so this is just sheets of brood. So either I moved this up or she's been here. Who knows? I don't see her in here. I read somewhere that the strain of bees that are common in Israel, because of some work done by a moshav, or a non kind of a non-communal or non-socialist communal farming system, and a kibbutz, which is a socialist communal farming system, because of some work done by them, that the predominant strain in Israel is an Italian blend that is most likely um, Buckfast, Brother Adam. Makes sense. He came here, I believe, in the 50s or the 60s, the late 50s. The bee that is native to this region, often called the Syrian honeybee, is Apis mellifera syriana. They have a few interesting characteristics. They're a little more yellow, like most bees. The more south you get, they're a little aggressive, a lot aggressive. Some people say they're worse than African bees. They also, when they cast a swarm, they have a tendency to keep some of the virgin queens until someone comes back mated, and then she'll go off and kill the sisters. Because there are migratory birds and hornets here that do eat honeybees very aggressively. That was a lot of fun. My phone died from overheating right before I was about to shake. So you can see here that our numbers are somewhat high. Hive 1 is just ridiculously high. I'm very worried about them. Hive 3 is very high. It's well above threshold. You have a few hives, 2, 5, for example, that are right at threshold, and the rest seem to be okay. There's some debate as to whether or not all should be treated or just one, but we'll go over that, and we'll also go over what I think happened. But that'll be later in the video. Right now, we're going to go over the treatment. Okay, we did our testing, and we're back. I just ran over the numbers with you. So, these hives down here are all pretty good. The hive that says 1096, that one is not so great. And then this hive right here, all but lonesome, is the bomb. And then this is, of course, our recent swarm. I think they still have a lot of capped brood, so they're not quite there. Maybe when the capped brood comes out, it'll be another bomb. And then that's our nuke that was our failed walk-away split that I think was probably the nucleus, the nidus, if you will, of this Varroa bomb for 1 and 3. So let's walk over to the tractor and see what we have. Today I'm going to pull all the honey supers. I've got a few left because there's mesquite and some wildflowers and eucalyptus, but at this point I don't believe those are major flows, so we're just going to call it and say they're going to live hand to mouth, with the addition of 1:1 sucrose syrup. I went ahead and made this dispenser. You can buy them. I don't really like the design of how you buy them, and then they cost. This one I just made for parts found around. More importantly, here we go. Here's the deal. This is Amatraz. I would like to do something an organic acid, but it's too hot for formic acid. I ordered thymol, which is not an acid. It's an extract from thyme plant, but it's not here. I called and I sent an email. Hasn't gotten here yet, so I don't know. Oxalic acid, I haven't been able to find oxalic acid, but also, we still got capped brood. We don't go broodless here. We're not broodless right now. I feel like I would have to be here treating with oxalic acid over and over and over and over again to see any results. And Hive 1, my friend over there, is in trouble. Hive 3, my most productive and best hive, is in trouble. So here we are. Can you see that? Amatraz. The obviously goes under a different name here, but it's still effectively the same. The Amatraz crystals. I don't know if you can see that crystalline reflection. It comes on these tongue depressors, and you just pop it in the hive, keep it in there for 4 to 6 weeks. So we're going to do that. I don't know if I'm going to be able to film any of that work. I don't have a tripod, too cheap to buy one, and it's really hot out right now anyway. Last time I tried to film, the camera overheated and shut down because it's just so hot. So we'll take a look. The bees are busy. They're out working something, but I just don't think it's enough for them to make any excess. So I'm going to pull the supers. Maybe they have something on them, maybe they don't. If it's uncapped, whatever is in there, if it's uncapped, you know, I'll save it. I'll spin it down, maybe make mead out of it or something. You know, this season was a bit of a bust. They had to rebuild every single second story on here, plus every single super. You know, that's 10 deeps, maybe more. It's actually probably around 15 deeps because it's all the hives. You know, I had some swarms that I call it, plus 5 of the medium supers that I bought this year. All of those were foundation. I had to draw all of those out. So that, of course, there's going to be no real honey. But on top of that, during the 4 to 6 week honey flow that we have here, of really good flow of citrus and things like that, it rained a lot. So when the bees are inside during the rainy day, they're not gathering, and then it takes 2 or 3 days for that nectar to kind of accumulate in the flowers. That's why I really wish we had something like a linwood or basswood tree, because the way the flowers are shaped, they provide shelter from the rain to the nectar, but whatever. And I'm gonna go take a quick look. You know, these were my late bloomers down here. I don't know if you can see. Let's zoom in. There's no pollen. So I have to find a local source of brewer's yeast, because I just saw a little bit of pollen. Okay, so there's a small amount of pollen coming in. But it won't be long before the pollen is a trickle, just eucalyptus and things like that, until maybe later in the year, September. Then we'll have more blooms at that time. Over the summer, I'm going to feed them sucrose syrup, and I'm going to just get them to draw comb for splits. Apparently, what I understand here, you do a lot of splits before the winter. Late season splits. So I want to have comb drawn by then. I have to feed them some pollen patties. You can't really buy any pollen sub here. Not that I've been able to find. You can get Hive Alive and pollen patties. They're for $100 for 10 of them plus shipping. No thank you. So I'll just have to source it and make it myself. Instepler has a good recipe. So let's get started. I'll give you an update after. Hi everyone, I'm back. Like I said, I would be. I'm a little bit out of uniform on t-shirt and a cap. It is 100, I think it was 108 or 109 today. So I didn't really do much with the bees, and honestly, I did not want to get outside. I went and peeked in on them. They're doing fine. I did want to talk about my theory behind what I think happened, why 1 and 3 had such a high Varroa count, and why they kind of bombed, if you will. You know, I did the walkaway split from Hive 1, and it did well. They created some cells. But then, you know, I really screwed up. There's a little dearth between the spring and summer flow with the eucalyptus and the mesquite. And the spring is obviously orange and whatnot. I put some 1-to-1 sucrose to help them out, and because, you know, just to get them some milk brewed, and it caused a robbing frenzy. And then after it, you know, the walkaway split failed. I had this nuke with a bunch of, you know, good comb, so I put it back in 1 where I took it from. But you know, when you have this robbing frenzy, you've got everyone in the neighborhood there, and the Varroa are jumping off, and then they get there and they say, "Oh, nowhere to go," and then I put those comb They had brood and everything. I put them back in hive 1, and it just had a bomb. So that was my fault. And if I lose that colony, it's my fault. 3, I believe, was just a matter of strength. I didn't take as far as I remember, I didn't take any of the combs out. I'm pretty good about not cross combing unless I absolutely have to, like in the spring when I'm equalizing. Um, I think they are just the strongest, biggest hive, and they were probably the biggest culprits in robbing it out. And so they got a disproportionately high load. If the other hives are smaller and they're working a single nectar source, then maybe they're content with that. But if you've got a big hive and they're working a nectar source, and they still have some worker bees, some gatherers there, then maybe they'll go. I really don't know. That seems like it's in the purview of Dr. Tom Seeley, so I wouldn't presume to know that. But that's what it is. I wanted to do a knockdown. I've had some real frustrations, trying to get oxalic acid. You can't just go to the hardware store and get it. You have to go to a chemical supplier at the up in the industrial part of the country, buy 5 kilos of it, and, or a a 25 liter bucket of it. There's a guy who sells, actually it's an American brand, milk paint, oxalic acid, wood bleach. I drove for an hour all the way out to where his store is, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not here. I have to take a shower and leave. I have to go to a job." And I'm like, he said, "I'll mail it to you next week." And so formic acid, just forget about it. Can't get Formic Pro, can't get anything. Really, the only knockdown method that you have is if you can get your hand on oxalic acid. If you get your hands on formic acid, again, not being a native language speaker, local language speaker, it's very difficult for me to get formic acid. I was able to find 8 pounds of oxalic acid on Amazon that will ship here, but the shipping, it costs as much as the item itself, so about $70 for 8 pounds. The only knockdown option is Tactic, and you have to use potassium nitrate, soak a paper, then soak the Tactic in it, and then light it, and the smoke will fumigate. I really wasn't into that. It's like, I mean, I know that used to be a fairly common method, but it just seems like what we know about a single pathway miticide, synthetic miticide, this high immediate dose, and then nothing. Theoretically, it coats the walls and all that, but I don't believe it. Just know, as a physician, knowing what I know about antibiotics, that if you give a single dose of something, even, ertapenem, something very strong, vancomycin, and then that's it, well, if that infection comes back, it's going to come back with a vengeance. So I'm not too keen on that, and I can understand why Tactic was taken off the market in other parts of the world. So here we are. There's no knockdown effect with the Amitraz strips. I just hope that it's able to control the mites in those 2 colonies quickly. A lot of frustrations, a lot of frustrations. I asked someone today who's known for kind of bringing oxalic acid extended release here to this country. I texted him today, and his reply, "Where can I buy oxalic acid?" His reply was, "Use Formic." I said, "It's 109 out." He goes, "No, it's fine." I said, "Well, where do you buy Formic?" Didn't tell me. He just gave me a PDF for the instructions, which I can get. So I am hitting a lot of walls, a lot of frustrations. I can't find pollen sub. I can't find miticides. I'm really frustrated. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Good thing is this is a hobby for me. I am a hobbyist, and no smart man was ever knocked down by a hobby. He was able to compartmentalize it. So I have to just be smart. All right. Well, that's it. Sorry to end on a downer, but it's a little depressing. We'll see July 10th, around about. We'll see if I'm still knocked down. All right. With Brown and Daughters Honey, also known as my hobby, this is Connor. Take care. Bye.